Hello, good people. How are you? It is very much indeed feeling like spring where I am in the world. I don't know how long it'll stay. We got a little tease here and there a couple of weeks ago, and then it snows intermittently, and there are tornadoes and all kinds of unpredictable weather events. So I don't know. I do know that the change in the weather has definitely been affecting my sense of internal stability. I've just noticed a little more active waves of emotion. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like there's anything wrong with emotions or even active emotions. I personally have always been an emotional person, someone who feels things deeply and would like to feel things deeply. So I don't think it's a terrible thing to be emotional and to have the capacity for experiencing emotion and really like not only experiencing it but maybe also knowing how you feel, being able to name how you feel. So spring in any season where there's like an abundance of wind and movement of air and unpredictable weather and temperatures can sort of be overly stimulating or destabilizing to a lot of people, especially people who have more of an airy constitution and or any type of, sensitive emotional nature or tendencies toward anxiety and things of that nature. So it always makes sense to me, myself makes sense to me at this time of year when things are shifting and my internal system is responding. And I've been thinking about how often I use mudras, meaningful hand gestures. Meaningful gesture would be one interpretation of the word mudra. Hello, plants. I thought it would be nice and grounding to sit by these plants, but they're just here and looking gorgeous. So mudras I often use with a lot of the students that I work with as an opportunity to regulate or fine tune, adapt or adjust an emotional or psychological state in a really subtle sort of way. So, say someone comes in, they are feeling anxious, but also maybe physically exhausted, not really wanting to do a whole lot in terms of physical effort and exercise. Exercise, meaning like more challenging poses, right? Need something simple, maybe we would choose a mudra, one of these hand gestures that we do in yoga that, in different combinations, joining the fingertips or different parts of the fingers and hands can create different effects. So I know that's like kind of a crazy thing to wrap your head around, and I honestly am still working on it myself, even though I've been practicing them now for a couple of years and can identify changes in my own energetic state like very quickly when I hold mudras and breathe and just kind of bring my awareness to whatever it is, the emotion or state of being that I would like to achieve. So you could say that some of it, in terms of using mudras and trying to create an intended effect, could be created just by the mindful intention of the intended effect. Can't really argue with that. I think that yogis far more advanced than myself would say that you don't have to have the intended effect in mind for the mudras to work a specific way. So it really might have more to do with the circuitry of the hands, the way that the hands and the fingertips maybe signify or relate to different parts of the body. But I'm going to simplify it in terms of what I teach to my students when it comes to the mudras, and it relates to the elements. So, like in yoga, or Ayurveda, some may call it the sister science of yoga. Some would argue that it's not a science. So I'm going to put that out there. There's an idea in Vedic tradition that we are all made of the five elements, that we are all composed of everything that everything else you see is composed of, which something really, that really makes sense to me, that like, I consider myself to be a part of nature. And as a part of nature, of course, I'm made of all the things that nature is made of, right? So when you consider this idea, if you can accept, just like suspend, what is the suspension of disbelief? Suspend your disbelief for a minute and consider that we're all made of the elements, and each of the fingers represents a different one of the elements. Okay, so the thumbs represent the fire element, which makes a lot of sense to me. Some of them don't make as much sense, but this one makes sense to me because I think of the thumb as like the actor, the activating thing, that can go all these different directions, right? And that's how I remember it. Fire. Index fingers, pointer fingers. This is the air element. When I think of this one, I honestly think of like going up. It's just a personal association that may or may not make sense to you, but that's how I remember it. The middle finger is the space element. And the way that I remember this one is just the idea of like, give me some space, give me some space. The ring fingers, which I have a really hard time extending with the other ones bent. This is your earth element. I can't really tell you how to remember this one. I just remember the first three by my little examples that I just offered, and then the other two I remember by process of elimination. Earth. Little fingers. What do we have left? We've got water, right? So fire, air, space, earth, water. The different configurations of the fingers signify different energies or the somehow internal tapping into of a specific energy, right? So the one that I wanted to bring to you briefly today is, well, and maybe two mudras for grounding and stillness and calming and like coming back into the present moment, into your physical body, into your physical space, and out of the mind where most of the anxiety is generated to begin with, right? We can have anxious bodies, and then our anxious bodies can like connect to our minds and sort of breed anxious thoughts. That happens, right? We could have anxious thoughts, and our mind connects to and sends signals and messages to our bodies, and we can start to feel anxious in our body, and it just becomes this cycle. And I'm sure many people can relate to that. And one of the ways we can kind of interrupt and intercept that cycle is by taking a moment to just be wherever we are physically, connect to that space, and then maybe try something like a mudra. So I'd like to show you Adi Mudra, and I hope that I pronounce it correctly. I'm not sure. It's a Sanskrit word, Adhi. And the book that I study about mudras refers to it as the gesture of primordial stillness. And it's done by taking your fire finger, your thumbs, and wrapping it inside the palm. So just folding it in and then taking your other four fingers and making like a super gentle, it's not really a fist. To have a fist, you'd be a kind of like disabling the thumb here. A fist would be to have your thumb over the knuckles. So thumbs wrap in, fingers wrap around. Then you'd kind of just rest your hands in a place where you can relax your shoulders. Yeah, maybe if you're feeling like this might be beneficial, you could try it or just put it in your back pocket for another day, another time where it might make sense to try it. So holding this mudra, I feel like I'm being too aggressive with it. It's really gentle. When you hold this mudra, if you want to add that additional added benefit of mindful intention, you might want to consider an image of something very still. So, an image that to you represents grounding and connectedness to earth. Like in my mind right now, I'm thinking of like a mountain or a tree. Maybe a mountain makes even more sense because it's more still than a tree. But whatever works for you. And just holding this, maybe closing the eyes if you're comfortable with that, or just casting like a downward gaze, just kind of softening the eyelids, relaxing the jaw, relaxing the shoulders, and noticing your breath. Feeling the breath enter and release from the body. Requiring very little effort of your own. Perhaps intending to be still, to find a single focal point mentally to focus on. If we find that is far too difficult for this moment, abandon that idea and consider more the idea of being still in your own shape, however you happen to be sitting, just for a breath or two more. Just for a breath or two more. Breathing, exhaling as completely as we're able. Inhaling and feeling belly expand, ribs expand, drawing breath into chest and exhaling from the chest, out the ribs, down to the bottom of the belly. And again, breathing in, belly, ribs, chest, and breathing out, chest, ribs, belly. Just notice your hands. If you find that you're gripping too tight, relax a little bit here. And then I'm going to slowly release the gesture. Stretch out the fingers. Crack your knuckles. Whatever feels good. Shake it out a little bit. Check in with yourself. See how you're feeling. On a scale of like 0 to 10, 0 being stillest, the calmest, 10 being the most energized, where would you rate yourself? Notice that. And I invite you to try one more if you'd like. So this one I also don't fully know how to pronounce. Maybe Chinmaya or Chinmaya. And you would take the outer 3 fingers and wrap them in really gently. Again, not like gripping. Really gently. And the index finger and the thumb to join. And rest the hands like so, knuckles up, shoulders relax. Again, this is a mudra that is said to produce very similar effects to the first one that I just demonstrated. The first one, I would say, would be more calming, more relaxing and grounding than this one. This one would be slightly less so, but only a little less so. So depending on just how much you need, choose. And again, just sit for a moment. Feel where your fingertips meet. Notice how it feels to have the rest of your fingers curled under, the temperature of your hands. Check in with your shoulders. See if there's room and space where you can relax them away from your ears a little. And imagine growing taller, not by like thrusting the chest forward and drawing the shoulder blades together on the back. Relax your shoulders. Think about growing some roots of some kind, actually connecting down toward the solidity of the planet. And as you're doing this, the spine just naturally uplifts. It lifts up, and the crown of the head just very gently, it just reaches toward the sky. And we hold this mudra, and we're just going to take a few breaths. Eyes open, eyes closed, whatever your preference is. If you're free and able to breathe with your nose, breathe in and out through your nose. Relax through the jaw. Allow your exhales to be as full and as easy as you're able. As you breathe in, feel expansion from the bottom of the abdomen up into the chest. As you breathe out, feel that contraction from the top of the chest to the bottom of the belly. Breathing in, belly, ribs, chest. Breathing out, chest, ribs, belly. Breathing in, belly, ribs, chest. Breathing out, chest, ribs, belly. Feel yourself. Feel yourself seated. Feel yourself being. Notice where your mind went. Notice any sensations you're feeling in the body, any temperatures you're registering, any sounds. Take another breath. Let all that air out with your next exhale. And when you feel ready, slowly release the gesture. Free up them fingers. Well, just naturally went into another mudra. Anjali Mudra, the gesture of reverence to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your time, your attention, your interest. And for the time that you are taking to learn yourself and take care of yourself. You are worthy of being cared for and taken care of. I hope that you find this information useful. Feel free to like or leave a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're into the information, and I shall see you next time.